Hey everybody, Thomas Dimitrovich here, and it is another IAEI News Live. I'm excited about this session because this is going to be a continuation of some interviews that we did. I'm sort of liking the interviewing concept and introducing that to all of you out there, all of you viewers, because you may not get to experience and hear from some of these individuals that we're going to get on camera. So we're going to continue our discussion. This is, again, a recorded session, so keep that in mind. We're going to continue our discussions from the Florida chapter, and it all starts now. Alrighty, so we had a great session last week. At least I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed being down at the Florida chapter meeting and talking with the Florida chapter members and seeing some of the great things that are going on. But I think another takeaway that I'd love for you to have from these sessions and these small snippets of interviews is the amount of talent that we have involved with the IAEI. We are an organization that is driving changes into the electrical industry, educating the electrical industry, and there's just so many opportunities to build good relationships. So hopefully you get something out of these interviews. Today, we start off with where we left off last week, and that is with Vince Dela Croche. Now, Vince is going to, again, tell us a little bit about Vince Dela Croche and talk a little bit about the Southern Section meeting, which I'm hoping you all will be interested in going to. You don't have to just live in the South to be a part of the Southern Section. I usually go to... Now, my schedule, my travel schedule, and my meeting schedules have gotten very hectic lately. I'm lucky to get to the Western Section. I know last year, that was the first year that I barely got to the Western Section. I was there for a portion of the time, and then I immediately had to escape to another meeting. But I typically go to 3 sections. I used to go to them all except for Canada. I'm hoping to get to the Canadian section this year. I definitely am going to be at the Western section. I'm hoping to be at the Southern section and the Eastern section. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get out to the Northwest and Southwest, but the key thing is, doesn't matter where you live. You can be a part of those section meetings. The other thing that I hope you take out of this, now today's session, so we got Brian Holland, we got Vince Dela Croche. He's going to talk a little bit about those section meetings, but we also have Jeff Fecto. Now, Jeff is from the underwriter. He's with UL, Underwriters Laboratories. Jeff has a great background. You'll hear a little bit more from him about his information. But what I love about Jeff's discussion, Jeff is that interview with Jeff is, I think, more of the type of discussion that you experience at section meetings, because we didn't script it. We didn't plan anything. In fact, I just, at that moment, said, I'm going to ask him a question. What are your top 3 code changes? And you know what? He didn't miss a beat. He did not miss a beat, because the people that are involved with IAEI at these meetings, they live, eat, drink, and breathe the National Electrical Code and other codes and standards. And this gentleman, when you see the discussion I had with Jeff Fecto, I want you to imagine that on steroids when you go to these section meetings or even individual chapter meetings, because the discussions go exactly like that which I had with Jeff. I hope you enjoy that session. There's a lot to be learned in listening to Jeff talk about his top 3 selections on top 3 changes for the 2023 code cycle. And again, not rehearsed, not planned, off the cuff, and the level and depth of knowledge that man has is phenomenal, and I think well representative of many others in the IAEI involved with chapter meetings, division meetings, and section meetings. It doesn't matter where you're at, where you're going. You're going to meet people like Jeff, and those are people you need to have in your contacts list. So now, please take a look at, and I'll catch you on the other side. But before I go, I got a letter in the mail, and I got a package. First, I get this text: "Hey Tom, what's your mailing address? I need to send you something." I'm expecting, I don't know what I was expecting. I've had those before, and I've received pictures and product, right? And that, hey, I need you to look at this. But I'm going to read this letter. And the letter goes, and I don't have my spectacles, but I'm going to do the best I can with what I got. It says, "Several months ago, during an IAEI live event, you mentioned that you were having trouble remembering what the online version of the White Book is now called. To ensure that you always have a quick reference available for our UL Product IQ page, we are pleased to enclose the following displayable art for your use." And yes, this came from Michael Hofkin. Okay, Michael Hofkin's probably the only one out there, well, one of others, but that would send a letter like this and provide this prop. Okay, I mean, you got to hand it. We here at UL Solutions strive to provide independent, technically accurate, and science-based information to the industry whenever and wherever and whenever it is needed. Toward that end, we developed this lovely wall hanging. You know what, Michael? You need to write articles for IAEI. Toward that end, we developed this lovely wall hanging and are very happy to present it to you and IAEI News Live as a token of our friendship, respect, and admiration for the job that you do. As a bonus, this information will enhance the IAEI News Live broadcast, as you will no longer hesitate as you search your mind for the name of our complimentary technical resource for our friends in the electrical profession. Now tell me if that's not a class act. That is UL Product IQ. It's called UL Product IQ. I hope this helps. And this is what they sent me. All right. So, Mr. Michael Hofkin, and everybody out there, okay, UL Product IQ. There's the URL. I'm going to be putting this on the wall behind me so that I never forget. Again, this is what happens when you get old and you forget these UL Product IQ. Don't forget it. Always remember it. It's a free resource. And we here at UL Solutions strive to provide independent, technically accurate, and science-based information to the industry wherever and whenever it is needed. There she blows, UL Solutions, and it will be cherished, Michael. Thank you very much. I was very surprised when I received this. I first checked the garage or the driveway to see if there was a four-wheeled gift, thinking maybe you had it delivered. It wasn't a four-wheeled gift. I thought maybe it was it was something that goes boom, or maybe something that goes it's going to get loud. But no, you did something much better, and you gave me Product IQ. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. and I will cherishingly love it. And I'm going to put it right here on the wall behind me so that it is prominent, and I will never forget it. Thanks. All right, so I'm glad I can, what do you say, right? All right, so without any further ado, I want to let you take a look at and hear from Mr. Vince Dela Croche, who's going to start it. Remember, we're hitting Vince, Dela Croche, Brian Holland, and then Mr. Jeff Fecto, which Jeff is a part of UL Solutions, right there. All right, catch you on the other end. Thanks, and here we go. So tell me, who is Vince Dela Croche?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So
tell us a little bit about you.
all right. My background is probably like most folks who are watching, like I said, and most folks who remember. So I came up through the trade, and I know you make fun of the way I talk. So yeah, everybody says, hey, you're in Florida and you've been down here for quite a few years, but that doesn't quite sound like a Florida accent. I said, well, it's North Florida. And I say, well, it's really about 1,500 miles north of Florida. So yeah, I came up through the trade in New York City, and was a helper and an apprentice. I relocated down to Florida quite a few years ago, and was a contractor down here for about 8 years. I spent about 11, almost 12 as an AHJ here in Florida. Transitioned to a testing lab briefly, doing some field evaluations.
Right. What lab was that?
That was ETI Conformity Services.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
So did that for a little while, and then was able to get the position I now have with Siemens as a business development manager. And I think I just hit 6 years with Siemens.
It's been 6 years. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I'm able to participate on panel 17. I also sit on 99 for healthcare facilities. Yeah. I think we both are involved in a couple, 1078 and 1078.
Oh, 78 and 1078.
Qualifications.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We may both be on the technical committee for existing dwelling inspections.
73. Yes.
And
which is looking for a chair right now.
That's right. So I submitted your name and volunteered.
I was going to submit yours.
Sorry, beat you to it. I think from a technical committee and co-making panel perspective, that's it. A couple of UL standards technical panels. I'm involved with those. Also fortunate enough to, like I said, chair education here for the Florida chapter, and I also chair the education committee for our southern section of IAEI.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. The southern section. So where's the southern section this year?
Southern section meeting is in Waco, Texas this year. Be hard pressed to tell you the dates. We're usually the second week of October, I think, but I don't know the exact dates.
Maybe, just maybe, you can look down, up, left, or right on this video and find the link. I believe I'll put the links for the all the section meetings. We have one website for one page that has the schedule, basically. Right. Have you opened up your registration yet?
No, that is very close. Normally, I haven't talked to Ken Masters, our section secretary, Southern Section secretary. He usually gets through. Ken Masters, Southern Section secretary, is out of Alabama.
Yes.
Alabama, I know, has their chapter meeting this first or second week of March.
Yeah.
Usually he needs time to recuperate from that.
Yeah.
And normally around this time, it's usually around May 1st, sometimes by the end of May, sometimes it's June 1st. Ken and his folks out of the Southern Section will have the registration portal up.
That's good.
But as of now, not quite. I can share that I was meeting, since we're in Texas for the Southern Section meeting, our Southern Section president is Jesse Locker out of Texas. He's here on site for our Florida chapter meeting. I sat with him yesterday. We firmed up education for this Southern Section meeting.
Oh, perfect.
We've got the topics locked down. I have some instructors nailed down. We'll put the finishing touches on that over the next few weeks. So
Yeah.
when registration is posted, we'll be able to share all that information.
That's
also.
where we're at in the western section as well. I'm going to finalize it next week. Get all the different people. We have the topics. I got to make sure I have the right people in the right slots, and then we're going to publish our schedule too. So that'll be good. Hopefully we can get all the sections up and running so that we can start registering.
Yeah. So you probably agree. We're somewhat. I said it here today in front of our folks this morning. I think we're privileged as education chairs, both certainly at the chapter and division level. I'll normally send out invitations to folks to support education at the Southern Section level here at the Florida chapter, and I very rarely get a decline.
Yeah.
I reach out to folks as well as you do, our
Absolutely.
IAEI partners
Yep.
and folks who support the organization, and we get tremendous support, and that's always appreciated. It makes it easy.
Yeah, so it does, and so this year, we identified the topics,
Right.
and now I'm looking for the right people, right, and in the process of looking for the right people, I've got like 3 or 4 people like we would like to do a program at the Western Section, and then you don't want to say no, because so I'm trying to, I don't know about where your head's at with how you deal with this stuff, but I'm looking at like the day, and I'm trying to say, well, maybe we have an evening session, maybe we do something on Sunday afternoon before, to say, because you've got a lot of people who want to do things,
Right.
and then they're like, a couple people said, a couple individuals said, we'd like to do a program like maybe Sunday afternoon. I'm thinking about it, and they were like, no CEU credits. I'm like, well, heck no. If you're going to do a program, we'll throw CEU credits. I mean, that's what it's all about. And if you get a little bit more than the 18 credits or whatever it is that we're going to give you, then more power to us. But the challenge is fitting the time in.
Exactly.
But to your point, it's like it's you have all the individuals and everybody wants to help, and sometimes it's just a matter of making sure that you have for the topic for your section, because the states will be different, right?
Correct.
Southern state, you have Texas, you have Florida, and in some of these Louisiana, in some of these states, petrochem is big, right? So and
Correct. And we have different states. Obviously, everyone's aware of this. Different states are somewhere on the 2020,
That's
some have
right.
moved to the 2023.
Yeah.
So what do you present? And normally, I think most of us would drift to, we'll go with the most currently published edition and go with the latest and greatest, so everybody starts to get a flavor for what the most recent edition of the NEC is saying, even though your state may not be there for a couple of years, but you start to get your arms wrapped around what the document is saying. So we'll never meet exactly everyone's exact needs.
No, yeah, you're right.
Because there's just too many parts to the puzzle. Certainly for the Western section, you guys have the biggest section, I think, in the whole country. But it becomes difficult. But most attendees are very open. We usually get very good feedback on topics, and certainly we get great feedback on presenters.
Yeah. We have. I think the IAEI has some of the best talent in keeping your attention and delivering really good quality technical content. But even more important, all that, it's you've got their name, you've got their card, they've got their email, and if you run into topics, because the individuals that are on stage have more up here and in their experience than what they're talking on. So it's like you're getting some information, but right out here at the vendor tables is where the coffee pots, right?
Exactly.
You get around there, you start building the relationships, not just with presenters, but with all of the individuals who come to these meetings. You might be talking to somebody at a section meeting. You might be talking to somebody from a different state. Right? And you may have a very small exposure to, say, hazardous locations.
Right.
But and you're talking to somebody in Texas who lives, eats, and drinks it on a daily basis. And it's an opportunity to say, hey, if I have your questions are things that they probably forgot about,
Right.
years ago, and they go, oh yeah, it's simple to them. What might be simple to them is hard for you.
Correct.
So you build those relationships at the section meetings. I absolutely love that. It's helped me considerably in my career. From a Siemens perspective and from an Eaton perspective, when the smarter we are with regard to the code, we bring that back to our companies, right? And that expertise is recognized by all of the different product lines, all of our sales engineers, all of our customers, because we share that information with everybody, and it just helps us all the way around. It helps improve the industry and helps the careers too.
Yeah, and I think, that's what, I think we all push in the same direction, and that's exactly what it is, and I think that's to share information. And certainly when we have a chapter meeting here in Florida, and you travel across the country as well as I do, and we cover a lot of IAEI territory, most attendees, my take on most attendees is just share accurate and correct information, and give us some of the background about why something is changing, and when you can offer the why behind, because I can remember as a contractor, when my mission as a contractor was get jobs, do the jobs, get paid, track down material, keep an eye on employees, worry about trucks, where's my delivery, and all these things. And the focus on codes and standards was not there the way it is now. And that's okay, for the folks out there, right? You go through your career and you have a different focus on whatever your job scope or whatever you're trying to accomplish at that time. At that point, I didn't have a lot of time to go read the first draft or a second draft, or at that time report on comments or report on proposals, and get the substantiation and be in on the discussions about changes inside, our beloved NEC. Now that's my mission, right? And that's a big part of your job, and we're able to spend the time doing that, but it also enables us to then take that information and share it with others to help them navigate through. And I'm sure you'll agree, when we have discussions, an open discussion at the IAEI meeting, as quote unquote presenters, I certainly shy away from saying, put my name and expert in the same sentence, right?
Exactly,
but when we get up there as presenters and there's questions and we have the dialogue back and forth, I'm learning just as much up there as the presenter having the discussion. We have the questions back and forth, maybe more than the person sitting who's, the quote unquote student, and even that's not the right term, attendee. And that has never stopped. That will continue. I think for all of us as we work through all of this.
Absolutely, it's a two-way street, and what I love about it is if you breach on a topic, right? And people have opinions, and they get up to the microphones. This person says A, this person says B, and then someone comes up and says, well, I don't agree with what he said over there. And you just watch the dynamics of the room and take notes, because it is just absolutely phenomenal. To your point, we all learn together and from each other.
That's right. And how many times have you heard? I mean, I've heard it plenty of times. We'll have these discussions, and folks will get up and say, that's not the way we do it here.
That's right.
Pick your state, pick your area. That's not, and we've never did it that way. And, that's just different. And that light bulb has gone off in my head a million times.
Oh, absolutely.
To say, I never thought of, whatever particular installation that is. Hey, I know how we do it here in Florida. I never thought of it that way, installing it that way, or having to do this because of soil conditions.
I was thinking soil when you said that.
Earthquake. Somebody said, I don't know if it was in our meeting here over the last couple of days. I came straight from the Utah chapter meeting earlier this week. Maybe it was out there. And somebody mentioned seismic requirements and bracing and supporting equipment because of earthquakes. Well, guess what? I live in Florida. We don't have earthquakes here.
No, you don't.
But I tell you what, we got those other pesky things called hurricanes that roam through here.
That's right.
So from a seismic perspective, that never kind of is in my mind. because we don't deal with it here.
No,
But
and
if
you
you're
don't-
in California or out west, well, that's a different conversation.
Absolutely.
And, that you have to be broad enough to be able to kind of change the way you think.
Absolutely.
And be able to process that too,
Yeah.
bring it in,
Yeah.
and try and stuff it inside between your
Yeah.
ears, which is tough to do sometimes.
Yeah, and then a lot of people who will work on projects. You might have an electrical contractor or a design engineer in Georgia who's doing a project in California, who's doing a project in Florida, who's doing a project in New York City, and they have different requirements, different environments, the whole bit. I mean, you don't have basements here, right?
Very,
You don't
very
have
rarely.
de-icing, snow melting,
Right,
de-icing
right.
equipment on, there's so many things that are different, but you have marinas, you've got swimming pools,
Yes, we do.
right?
we do.
Lots of those, and so that's the other thing is you might take somebody who's from Pennsylvania, building relationships through IAEI with a person here in Florida who does pools on a daily basis, and that inspector or that contractor might do a pool once in a moon.
Right.
And then, you have that ability to say, hey, I know Vince Dela Croche, or I know this guy or that guy from Florida, and they live, drink, and sleep and eat pools. And I'm going to give them a call and say, hey, this is what I'm running across. How do you handle this? The soil may be different and all that good stuff, but, these guys down here know pools better than probably anybody in the country.
We do have quite a few of them. We're probably within, I'm going to look around, we're probably within about 50 yards of one right now here at the hotel.
We are. In fact, that's where we were eating lunch or dinner last night, right by the pool.
We had the barbecue. Or
You got it so tough down here in Florida. Jeez, oh man.
Well, we do try to, make this meeting, our yearly meeting, our annual meeting, we do try and make it a big event.
Yes.
We do. We spend, we're here for 2.5 days. Today is Friday.
Yeah, today's Friday, yeah.
So we go, we went all day yesterday.
Now, Ryan says he's doing a program tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we do a half a day tomorrow.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to step that back. We're going to do 2 hours tomorrow, basically from 8 to 10. Normally, we'll go from 8 to noon.
Okay.
But over the years, we've gotten some pushback from our members saying, hey, it's Saturday. We want to get out of here and go home. So we've pared that back to 2 hours. So Ryan, I think, is doing, I think he's doing some grounding and bonding
Yeah, he
for
is.
us.
Yep. Grounding and bonding. Yeah.
And
separately derived systems.
Separately derived systems is what he's doing, right. And then we've got a couple of those required miscellaneous
Gotcha.
hours that we're going to clean up for some folks tomorrow.
How many total CEU credits do you give?
All in, we're probably around 14 hours or so, 12 to 14 hours total.
Nice.
I think all in.
Very good. Very good.
So,
how many is required for the state?
So back to the licensing thing, if you're an ECLB, electrical contractor licensed person, that's 11 hours over 2 years.
Oh, okay.
If you're a BCAB license holder, as an inspector, plans examiner, building official, it's 14 hours over 2 years.
Gotcha.
So we try to get as many of those hours presented normally every chapter meeting that we hold. We try to get most of them. We don't always get all of them.
Okay.
Some folks leave an hour or two short, depending on the year and what we're trying to squeeze in. But we get folks very, very, very close. And then all our divisions across the state are normally doing either at their monthly meetings.
Yeah.
Most of them are meeting monthly again. And most of them probably this year will do something like a Saturday analysis of changes.
Okay.
As we've got January 1st circled on our calendars where we're going to go to the 2020. So all our divisions are pretty good about doing some one-offs and two-offs, continuing education during the year to get their local folks, if they can't come to this meeting, trying to get them taken care of from a continuing education perspective, more local. We know folks are still coming out of COVID and there's battles to get folks back into the room, and some folks still prefer to be remote, and that's still a problem for us here and for a lot of groups across the country.
We're handling that across the country, but it is great to get back in person together. So there's one other question I had for you. I got the CU credits. How many people? How many
I
attendees?
believe all in, I heard numbers pushing 150.
150, that's great.
I don't have a final count on the vendors.
Okay.
I think we had about 25 or so vendors. We have a companions program we run too. So I think I heard 20-something companions.
What did the companions do?
There was some type of boat trip yesterday.
No, really? Okay.
So I know the companions met. They had a little meet and greet down in the hospitality room.
Okay.
And then they, I believe, Ubered over maybe 5 or 10 minutes away. They jumped on the boat yesterday afternoon.
Excellent.
Heard something about Chippendale dancers.
Oh boy, that's
There were
not
some
good.
videos floating around. So I don't know if those will make it onto. Don't put them on your website. But the companions seemed to have a good time yesterday afternoon.
That's great.
Today, there may have been a breakfast for them.
Okay.
And then they went to a local park. We got another beautiful day here. I don't think it's too humid outside. They went to a local park and we had a wine glass painting.
Oh, that's cool.
Little event.
Yeah.
Where I know there was some mimosas, I believe. There was some
okay.
Bloody Marys maybe this
Oh
morning.
boy, they might be a little tipsy coming to the.
We'll see what the wine glasses look like, what kind of shape the painting came out in. But I saw some of the companions roll back. I think they came in just after lunch, and they all seemed happy.
Yeah, that sounds
I
great.
think they had a good time, and we've got the banquet tonight.
And yeah, tonight's a banquet. Where's the banquet? Where's it going to be? In here? In the main room?
I think we're back in the main room. They'll probably reset it up after we break for continuing education, and we'll have the banquet. We'll do some awards. We'll install our officers. Jesse Locker, like I said, our Southern Section president's here to do that. We've got international office presence.
The
I'm
IO.
not sure who's hanging for that.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that had to go home because it is Friday.
That's right.
Yeah,
And we've got Mother's Day weekend that we're up against.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to say a big thank you, though, because I know this is kind of new for the International Board. That sounds like
Yes.
you guys are going to be, I say you folks. I won't say you guys, you folks.
Yeah,
the
'cause we-
International Board
yeah.
will be, it sounds like moving around to some different chapters for future meetings.
Yes,
And,
we are.
The board was nice enough to invite the Florida chapter board of directors into the tail end of your meeting yesterday. I know we had our board of directors meeting and education and stuff going on. So appreciate that invite. I was able to jump into your meeting the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was the executive board meeting, and so the executive board meeting meets in the about this time every year, and then we have a board meeting which is like at the end of the year. It has to be 30 days after the last section meeting and no more than whatever many days based upon the bylaws. I can't remember the details, but so I believe we're going to meet at the Tennessee chapter meeting I'm not sure when Susan's having her meeting, but I think we're going to be meeting up there. So what we're trying to do, what Rudy is really doing, and I applaud him for what he did with this meeting. It was his idea to meet here, and his reasoning was, we're trying to be a lot more transparent in what we're doing, and if you get the board, the board members we all have our own chapters and all that good stuff, right? But to talk with all of our membership and get engaged. Across the country, it's the right thing to do. And I when he first said it, because we always met in Texas, we always go down there and we had our thing, but it just worked out so much better. And to your point, we bringing you guys in and talking about it, and we would not have learned about what you're doing and what you guys have done here with BOAF. Go figure. We would not have learned about that. And I said, you know what? While I'm here, I want to make sure I share that with everybody because it's a great opportunity to say, look, here are the great things that IAEI is doing as the technical expert, subject matter experts in their area, in your chapter, in your state, and partnering with organizations to say, look, we want to be your resource for electrical education.
Yeah, and hopefully, other chapters, IAEI chapters are able to take advantage of that. Because, those, and it's all going to depend on relationships, right? This is a relationship-driven organization, and especially when you start crossing over to other organizations. How long, do you have a relationship? If not, maybe you want to reach out and build one, and relationships are not built in a day
overnight. Absolutely
or a week.
Right.
So, it could be a long-term investment. It certainly was here.
Right.
But, you start from zero and you work from there.
Absolutely.
If you don't take advantage of anything, if you started at zero, you're still at zero. You
That's right.
lost nothing, right? So
Absolutely. So the first step would be in each state to identify the organization, and like you say, it's a subset of the ICC. They have a relationship with the ICC, right?
yeah, my understanding is yes. Yes, they are chapters of
The ICC,
I believe.
Okay.
Officially.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
officially.
Yeah.
And maybe the international office
Can help.
with that, because we do have
Absolutely.
a relationship between the international
Yes, we
office
do.
and I don't want to say international office of ICC. I don't know if that's the right term.
No, well, we got
main office
this.
of
Both
ICC.
CEOs are talking, so that's the first step, and then we're sharing resources and knowledge, and this could be an area to say, look, if I'm in Pennsylvania, what's my organization? If I'm in West Virginia, California, or wherever, and then like you say, if that relationship doesn't exist, extend the olive branch and say, hey, let's get together. What can we do together to help increase safety, knowledge of all of our working professionals?
Right. So the relationship has been established at the
International
level for
Right.
both organizations. Right.
Yes.
That's the agreement that's been worked out throughout the last couple of years.
Yes.
Between IAEI and ICC. So, why not make it happen more direct at the local level?
Absolutely.
If possible.
I love it. Beautiful. Well, thanks for taking out the time. I know you're a busy guy.
My
and
pleasure. I appreciate the invite. Yeah, it's great to talk to you and talk to everybody out there. I know you have a big following. I heard that you reached the
IAEI News Live.
So make sure you leave this on.
I will.
All the credit I give to you, because you don't have to do this. You have a real job.
I know we both do.
We both have
That's
real
the thing.
jobs. but-
That is exactly right.
So I give you a lot of credit for doing it. I don't know how you have enough time in the day to do it, because you're eating work.
Yeah.
And you're doing a tremendous amount of IAI work on top of that with all the YouTube stuff. So great job. I appreciate all your
Thank you.
time and effort that you put into it.
Appreciate it.
And that's much appreciated. And I know there's everyone in the industry who realizes what you're doing and appreciates that also.
Thank you.
So
I
thank you.
appreciate that.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Vincent.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you out there too. So
Until next time.
until next time. Cool. We're at the IAEI's 93rd annual Florida chapter meeting here in Florida.
Good for you.
I had the opportunity with the International Office, the Board of Directors Executive Committee met here at the Florida chapter meeting. We brought all of our executive members here, and we had a great meeting integrated with the Florida chapter. And we had the opportunity to have Brian Holland from NEMA. Brian, why don't you tell us who you are?
Great. Yeah, so I'm Brian Holland. I am the Managing Director of the Technical Field Representative Program at the National Electrical Manufacturers Association. So we're a team that's all things codes and standards. Codes and standards development, codes and standards adoption and enforcement, codes and standards education and training. So I also cover the NEMA Southern region, which includes my home state here of Florida. And this is about my 20th year of participating at the annual Florida chapter meeting, in addition to supporting all 9 divisions. So we're a huge, robust chapter with lots of interest in the activities of the IAEI, NEMA, and all our other industry partners.
Absolutely awesome. So you are a part of NEMA, which you stated, but there's more than just Brian there, right? So don't you have other people across the country?
Oh yeah, so we're a team of 4 and we cover the regions, and in fact, our regions are aligned with the IAEI sections, and that was intentional. So I cover the IAEI Southern section. We also have Jack Lyons, who covers the Northeast and the Eastern section of the IAEI. We have Brian Baumann, who covers the Midwest, which is aligned with the Western section. And our out West guy, California, Mike Stone, who covers both the Northwest and the Southwest section. So we have a great relationship with the IAEI. In fact, it's nearly a 100-year relationship. NEMA was founded in 1926. IAEI was founded in 1928. And we've been working on the development of the National Electrical Code, getting that code adopted at the state and local level, and doing education and training for nearly 100 years. It's super
Electrical
exciting.
safety.
Electrical
Right.
safety, resiliency,
Yes.
efficiency, sustainability, everything that we can do to support the built environment and making it safe and reliable.
Absolutely. And what's really great under the IAEI envelope
and the NEMA envelope. So, NEMA's a manufacturers. All the manufacturers are under that one envelope. We all work together, and what I like to think is that we all work on a common goal. Just like the IAEI works on a common goal, which is electrical safety. We're about saving lives, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's pretty remarkable. Many NEMA members are also IAEI members.
Absolutely.
And many members of the IAEI work for NEMA manufacturers. So it's a perfect relationship. We have many of the same missions and same objectives, and that is we care about our communities, we care about building owners, we care about homeowners, and anybody that uses electricity, we want to make sure that they're safe and
absolutely
yeah.
Yep, and secure. So let me ask you, for the Florida chapter meeting, what did you do here?
Yeah, so we had a series of reports from industry. So I gave a NEMA report to our board of directors so they could hear about all the great, exciting things that are happening in electrification. But also June 1st is the start of Atlantic hurricane season. So we're concerned about that. We want to make sure that communities are prepared for the negative impacts of natural disasters. But we also had lots of education. So we primarily focused on analysis of changes to the 2020 National Electrical Code. That document will go into effect on January 1, 2024. So we wanted to get everybody up to speed to some of those important improvements that happened with the code. And then tomorrow, we're going to have some educational breakout sections where we talk about very specific technologies, and we can go real deep into the weeds about what those requirements are. So still one more day, but it's a huge, robust event. 4 full days here in the state of Florida. It's exciting.
Excellent. And Brian, thank you for what you do for the electrical industry. I know you travel a lot. You fight the fight with code adoption,
Indeed.
All the different states in your jurisdiction, and to your point, from a hurricane perspective, your boots on the street, helping those locally make sure that things are electrically safe
Absolutely.
from water damage and all of that good stuff or bad stuff. So thanks for what you do for the industry. We appreciate, I know I appreciate you, and I know everybody who's watching this on IAEI News Live is going to appreciate you. So
Likewise, Thomas.
all right,
Thank you,
brother.
sir.
Thank you.
All right,
Be
be
good.
safe out there.
So here we are. So here at the Florida chapter meeting, you never know who you are going to find. And here we found a UL individual who traverses, I mean, he is completely out of his element. He's out of Arizona, Phoenix, all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, spent some time in Chicago.
No, that's the home office where I'm based out of.
Okay, but you used to live somewhere else other than
Many places. I've lived in Minnesota for 10 years. I lived in Springfield, Illinois for a couple of years. Grew up in Maine as a kid till I was
my
15.
Okay.
Then the time I spent with Uncle Sam, I spent time in
thank you for your service.
Fort Irwin, California. I spent time in Fort Leonard Wood, Lost in the Woods, Missouri. I spent time at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I got 3 years in Europe.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So you are with UL. This is Jeff Fecto.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here at the Florida chapter meeting.
Because I was asked to be here.
Excellent.
So, no, just those that don't know me. I got about 16 plus years wearing the tools as an industrial commercial electrician in Metro Phoenix. I wore the tools for 2 years in Springfield, Illinois. I got 8 years as a senior electrical inspector for the city of Peoria, 2 years as a building inspector 3 for the city of Bloomington, Illinois, a couple of years at NEMA, and I'm going into my 16th year here at UL with Codes and Regulatory Services.
Awesome. So from a UL perspective, you get engaged with the IAEI considerably, don't you?
Yes, that's part of Codes and Regulatory. We interface with the AHJs quite a bit. We're here to support them and help them understand codes and standards requirements, how the standards help supplement the codes, how the codes require product certification, and how all that interacts.
How long have you been a member of IAEI and been involved with IAEI?
Oh, God.
Okay.
Yeah, probably since, I'm going to guess, somewhere around 95 or 96. Mike Johnston was one of my mentors, and he found me as an electrician and convinced me to be an inspector and got me into the IAEI program. So.
That's absolutely awesome. And that's when I think Mike Johnston back in the day was the education chair, or worked for the IO, covering the education, sort of what Keith Laughlin and now Jody Wages did.
Prior to that, he was with the city of Phoenix as an inspector.
Right, yeah.
That's where him and I ran into each other.
Okay. Was it a good run into?
Oh, yeah. That's
Okay.
why I'm where I am today, because he thought I was worth taking under his wing and teaching things to do. So,
And
yes.
that is, in my opinion, what the IAEI does from an industry perspective, bringing people together, educating together, and then growing our careers together.
Yeah, yeah. If it wasn't for Mike, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. But after Mike got me introduced to IAEI, that's really what pushed my career, my drive to get to get inspection certifications. I got 23 of those, including certified building official.
Jeez.
And he just drove me to really get into the codes. He's the one that got me into teaching. He started co-teaching with me until he felt I was able to be kicked out of the nest, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. So now you get tapped on the shoulder from various chapters who are looking for talent on different topics to present.
Yep.
What was what were you involved with here at the Florida chapter? What did you present?
Here they asked me to co-present with a couple of different people. We covered the changes in the 2020 for Code Making Panel 4, Code Making Panel 18,
Okay.
and there was one other one I was involved in. I can't remember exactly which code panel that was. But I get tapped quite often to do different code changes or different code requirements.
Are you involved with the development of the code?
Yeah. This last cycle for the 23, I was on CMP 8.
Okay.
For the 2020, I was on CMP 9. Prior to actually being a code panel member, I would attend the NFPA annual meetings and listen in on the code changes and be a bug on the wall and text people questions during the hearings.
Okay.
And
All right, so I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. This is on the spot. It's live, but we're recording it. In your opinion, what do you think the top 3 code changes in the 2023 code cycle are?
top 3. Well, they've expanded the field evaluation parts.
Ooh, yes.
So the NEC didn't, until 2020, they didn't really talk much about field evaluation. It was always a alternate method of material that the NEC or the code authority would have to use special permission under 90.4 in determining equivalency. And they touched a little bit on it in the 2020, but they've really expanded that.
Yeah.
The other one would probably be the requirements of reconditioned equipment.
Oh, yeah.
When they went ahead and took all the definitions and moved them into Article 100 for the 23, the articles that had a .2 section, if those sections now address reconditioning of equipment, you can find that in the .2 section.
Yeah, I like
so a lot of people don't understand the sequencing of the NEC, that it really does have a rhythm to it.
Right.
For example, in this case, .2 is now going to be reconditioned equipment. .6 throughout the code generally would cover any listing requirements.
Right.
.10 and .12 are permitted uses not permitted if they're applicable. .30 covers supporting. 100 covers construction requirements. So if you know you're looking for one of those sections, you just got to go to the right article, and that dot section is going to get you the information you need.
Yeah. Tell me that's not freaking cool. That's awesome. I mean, you know, I was telling Vince and others today how, you know, going to these meetings, when you just rattled it off, I'm going to watch this video again and I'm going to write those down because I didn't realize some of those were dedicated. But you are right. I mean, I can remember I know a couple of those, but I never really thought about it across the board. Those are little tricks of the trade that from navigating the book and understanding the code. And I love the rhythm.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's a rhythm and blues when you miss it. I love it.
Yeah, and then for number 3, oh God. Well, they reorganized all the 1,000-volt stuff, so that helped clean it up.
Yeah, medium voltage.
Yeah, so anything over 1,000 volts has been helpfully
And there's
cleaned up.
much more to come on that.
Yeah. So I think that's a good place to go. Yeah. They took out what was it? The microgrid chapter 712.
Oh yeah.
712 was a short-lived article.
It was DC microgrid.
Yeah.
And I think the conversation was, look, you can have an AC microgrid too.
Yeah. So people are going to think that doesn't exist anymore because they got that 712 for a cycle. and then they go, look, it's gone, but all they did was redistribute it throughout the other articles. That appropriately where microgrid interface applications apply.
Exactly. Now, from a listing perspective, one of the changes I know Panel 10 did in 2023 was they made circuit breakers and fuses required to be listed, which many of us in the industry thought they were already required to be listed, but they weren't.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting thing, especially from the 2020. Yeah. Because the 2020 required if you reconditioned power circuit breakers, they had to be listed. But if you bought them new, they didn't.
Right. So I thought that was just hilarious. I'm like, okay, we got a requirement. If you recondition, it's required to be listed, but buy a brand new one. It's not up there.
Yeah. So that, and they brought in some listing requirements that everybody assumes was there for GFCIs.
GFCIs and AFCIs as well.
Yep. So none of that was really required to be listed, but you weren't going to find a legitimate product that wasn't already listed.
Exactly. And how an AHJ would use that, because I get that question a lot. When you have a product, whether it be an assembly or a product that is not a listed product, the AHJ has to approve it.
Yeah.
And they take that responsibility on. So if you get I always use the term Van Ducky. So you get a Van Ducky, right? And you say, well, this Van Ducky is supposed to, I don't know, do all of your energy management. And you go, oh, okay, so this Van Ducky does energy management, and it's an assembly, it's got all these components. Well, how does the AHJ say that it is okay? Now, they may look at it and say, okay, I'm going to approve this, or they can get an organization to come in and do a field evaluation.
Yeah. So that, again, leads back to what we said earlier.
Right.
That 2023 has a lot of subsections throughout, mostly the alternative energy sections, but not limited to them, where it does offer either listed or field evaluated. And there's definitions, obviously, in 100 that talk about a field evaluation body and what a field applied label is. So they go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah, and if you're a field evaluation body, there's an NFPA standard that gives you guidance on what a field evaluation body is.
Yeah, so there's a pair of documents, 791 and 790. So NFPA 790 is the competency part of it,
right?
And NFPA 791 is here's how you do it. Here's the rules everybody has to play by.
Right.
And where you get the requirement to enforce those documents, that comes out of ICC, their IAS program, their International Accreditation Service. And they accredit field evaluation bodies. And there's roughly 15 or 16. So
it doesn't have to be a nationally recognized testing laboratory?
That's actually a misconception.
Oh, wow.
So a nationally recognized testing lab, we list. Now, UL is unique, and we're a SDO, we're a standards development organization. We write a lot of standards. We're a NRTL, we're a nationally recognized testing lab accredited through OSHA, and we're accredited as a field evaluation body through ICC, their IAS program.
Interesting.
So listed isn't equal to field evaluation, or vice versa. I should say the other way around.
Right.
Listing goes through destructive testing, and that's what OSHA regulates.
Right.
That's what OSHA in 1910, subpart S, talks about. You have to have listed equipment, and they're going to cite owners of property if somebody gets injured and they don't have the listed equipment in place. So that's through the federal government.
Right.
The field evaluation is not factory testing. There's no factory follow-up. It's usually a one and done type application. And so just because you're an NRTL doesn't necessarily qualify you to do field evaluation.
Right.
So IAS through the ICC came up with this program, I don't know, maybe about a decade ago. And certain NRTLs are also FEBs, but there's companies that are FEBs that aren't NRTLs.
Right.
So they establish a credential that they can go do field evaluations, and your credentials through the IAS program identify what equipment you've been accredited to certify to.
Yeah.
And it's not destructive testing, it's more of an inspection where a field engineer goes out and per the 790 and 791 documents that your ICC accreditation requires you to use, even though one of them is a recommended practice, the accreditation says it's mandatory.
Okay.
And so those require you to evaluate to the appropriate product standard for that equipment. Sometimes it's more than one, depending on the type of equipment.
Yep.
And there has to be a report, there has to be pictures, there has to identify any deficiencies, how they were corrected. And after it's all said and done, one of the key factors is the field value or the field evaluated label can only be installed at the final site of installation. So you can do a preliminary offsite with AHJ permission, which is good. It helps everybody because it's done at the factory most cases where they got the right equipment and the materials to properly fix any deficiencies. But then when they ship it to the final site, that's when the inspector goes back, the field engineer goes back, verifies that the corrections were done. One of the things they have to take into consideration is its environment. So field evaluations are generally site specific.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And they make sure that it's installed in an environment that's not going to be adversary to the equipment. And then if it meets all those requirements per the standard, they sign off on it, they put a field evaluated label on it, and then they provide the AHJ and the customer a copy of that document.
That's pretty
And then the AHJ reviews it, and if they feel comfortable with it, then they approve it. So there's a misconception with unlisted equipment. You'll hear many people in the industry tell you, and it's a true statement, that the NEC doesn't require everything to be listed.
Yeah, that's true.
However, it does require everything to be approved.
That's 110.2. Yes.
So I like to use 90.7 and 110.3A. And I will explain that 90.7 is your get out of jail free card. Because 90.7 says an AHJ can base their approval on product certification, pretty much a listing, but now we can probably extend that to field evaluations as well.
That's right.
And so if they do that, they've done their due diligence. They're saying, hey, I base my approval because this agency says it's safe.
And they've evaluated.
And they've evaluated it for the known hazards. And if it's not listed and an AHJ chooses to approve it, which they can, they have that authority. But they got to pay close attention to 110.3A and read 110.3A in its entirety. And it starts out saying that whoever that inspector is shall evaluate. Shall being a mandatory term.
That's right.
And so if they don't base their approval on listing or field evaluation, then they're taking ownership that they're personally evaluated that piece of equipment.
That's right. And that's a lot of responsibility because you know as well as I do, there are, like you said it earlier, there's sometimes multiple standards associated with one product.
And inspectors, and myself included, I like to think I'm knowledgeable, but I don't have the knowledge to do that kind of stuff. Now I have access to the standards. One of the things UL does, and one of the things that's required out of the 790 document, FPA 790, is whoever's doing the field evaluation has to be competent with whatever standards they're using. So similar to my inspection certifications or any AHJs that have certifications, UL requires our field engineers to take certification tests on whatever standards that they are going to be accredited to do field evaluations. And any AHJ can ask for that information, and that's part of the 790 NFPA document. So if you, as an AHJ, have a field inspection or a field evaluation, and something just doesn't feel right, even before you approve them, you can ask, hey, show me the credentials of the person you're going to send out here, because NFPA 790 says they have to be accredited or have competency with whatever standards they're going to use.
That's pretty awesome.
So
that's pretty cool. So I love those. I love all of those, and there are a lot more that the 2023 code has to offer. But right off that was an impromptu off the top of your head. Great job. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime I can help you know that, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate what you do for the industry. And I don't know if everybody out there knows how much personal time you and others devote to the industry, to IAEI, for the betterment of the industry for electrical safety. And so I appreciate all that you do.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And just real quick, for those out there, even if you don't know me, you probably know one of my counterparts. We have John Tacker, we have Chris Jensen, we have Steve Jones, we have
Lichtenstein.
Tom Lichtenstein covers the Midwest. And we have Andrew Potier, who covers Canada for us. And we have Michael Hofkin that covers the Northeast for us. So if you're in one of those areas, the Northeast, you're going to probably know Michael Hofkin and reach out to him. He's my counterpart. He can help you as much as I can. If you're in the Southeast, that's me. Most of you should know me already. I'm pretty well known in the Southeast. If you're in the Midwest, that's Tom Lichtenstein. If you're in the Northwest, that's Chris Jensen. And if you're in the Southwest, that's Steve Jones.
Wow.
And then John Tacker dabbles a little bit. He's from the Southwest too.
Yeah.
But he's on the mechanical side. So we don't just do electrical in our group. We do fire, building, plumbing, mechanical. If you got any of those code questions or standards, feel free to reach out to us.
Absolutely. Wealth of knowledge, wealth of information, all available because of your partnerships with IAEI. So get out there and be a member. And I appreciate it for you watching the channel and all that jazz. So cool beans, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
All right, everybody. Hopefully you had, I hope you enjoyed that discussion with Jeff as much as I did. I lived it in the moment. I learned a little bit during that discussion, and I hope you did as well. I think ending on that video is a great way to help you understand the value of going to the IAEI meetings. Find your local chapter meeting, and don't be afraid to go to the hospitality rooms, because the hospitality room is a place where you will exchange a dialogue just like what you saw. I mean, that opportunity with Jeff, we grabbed him. I don't know where he was going. I think he was going to his room to get changed for the banquet. I don't know. But we just grabbed him and said, we need you. And we went to the hospitality room. We had that discussion. Thankfully, nobody was there yet. Actually, I think Vince locked the door and closed it up for that interview. And we had a great discussion. You'll meet a guy like Jeff. Jeff's from Arizona, as we said, and he's all over the place. We call those individuals travelers. We call them road runners. They get out on the road and they go from chapter to chapter. They answer the call. And as you saw, I asked Jeff, "Why are you here?" And he said, "I got asked to be here." And that's what they do. And there are many other like him in the industry from all different walks, all different organizations, different manufacturers, different nationally recognized testing laboratories, and others. So take the time to get engaged. Take the time to participate. Ask questions. And when you see a guy like Jeff, you might just see him in a hospitality room or in the hallway. Take a moment to introduce yourself and build a relationship. That's what it is all about. That's what the IAEI is all about. So I value your time for this session. I value your commitment to the electrical industry, because if you're watching this right now, that means you care about the electrical industry and you are engaged. I need you at these meetings as well, and I need your membership. So get out there. If you're not an IAEI member, if you're not subscribed to the IAEI's YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel. Get out there, consider membership with IAEI. It will help your career. It will help your knowledge, and I'll tell you what, it'll help your knowledge around the codes, and it'll build the relationships with industry partners across the country. And that is what's going to help your career within your organization, because you're going to be able to answer the questions internally to your organization. You're going to be able to, if you don't have the answers, you remember, you don't need to know all of the answers. All you need to know is who will be able to help you get those answers. And that is what the IAEI brings to the table. So hopefully you will consider membership, and hopefully you have hit that like and subscribe. And remember, hit the thumbs up. If you want to hit the thumbs down, you got to hit it twice, or 4 times or 6 times. Depends upon how much you'd hate it, but always even numbers. So that's just the way YouTube works. I'm just saying. All right, everybody, thank you for taking the time out. Thanks for what you do for the electrical industry. Thanks for what you do for electrical safety. And we will see you next week. Take care. Stay safe. Adios.